is not being covered on any mainstream media source right now. And I think that's a joke because Henry Novak is what everybody was pretending George Floyd was. George Floyd was talked about 147 times on mainstream media. Henry Novak has not been talked at all on mainstream media, even though what they pretended George Floyd died of, Henry Novak actually fucking did. And I think that's a shame.
Every new detail that emerges about this shocking case, it's utterly outrageous that it hasn't provoked national uproar. Henry Novak, 18 years old, prime of his life, walking home after a night out, encounters Vikram Digwa, who's carrying an 8-inch knife. Henry's stabbed 4 times as he desperately tries to flee. And when the police finally arrive on the scene, they believe Vikram's story that Henry was the aggressor, refuse to accept Henry's been stabbed, arrest Henry for being racist, and shortly after, he drowns in his own blood. Most of you know the basics of the story
Fucking
by
ridiculous.
now, but each day brings alarming new revelations. Please.
So just to let you know, Henry Novak left a bar, saw a guy carrying a blade, ran away from him, got stabbed 4 times, told the police officers about it. But the guy who stabbed him said he was being racist, so they let the guy bleed out as they handcuffed the man who got stabbed and did nothing to the perpetrator. And I already know what happens later. I already know how much worse it gets. I already know that Henry Nowak's last words were unironically, "I can't breathe." Same as George Floyd. Did you know that George Floyd was also saying, "I can't breathe," when no one was touching him in the back of the police vehicle? Which was later revealed months later when they got the body cam footage. Yes, Henry Nowak's last words were unironically, "I can't breathe." This story gets worse and worse and worse the more I hear about it.
Leave a like and comment on this video, by the way, because I'm going to use a lot of spicy words that the algorithm doesn't like. We've now heard Digwa's side of the story.
Yep.
Suffice to say, there are some pretty big gaping holes in it. Digwa claims Henry barged into him, yelling racial slurs. But videos of the incident taken on Henry's phone, which was found in Digwa's pocket, don't contain any evidence of such language being used. The video does show Digwa asserting, quote, "I am a bad man." Then Digwa claims Henry punched him, threatened his life, that a brawl ensued, and that Digwa punched him back. Digwa claims he feared Henry would use a knife. A knife that was in Digwa's possession. So Digwa stabbed him. A slash across the face, in the chest, in the lower body, and twice in the back of his legs. Was Henry stabbed in the back?
How the fuck do you stab someone in the back of their legs in self-defense? Oh yeah, because you fucking don't.
Of the legs during that confrontation, or when he'd already turned and run, when he was desperately trying to flee Digwa by climbing over fences. Yeah, which one makes more sense to you? The defendant said he did not intend to stab the student in the chest and was unaware he had. Right, yes.
Oh, I hate when I accidentally stab someone in the face and in the lungs. You want to know why Digwa stabbed Nowak in the back of the legs? Because he didn't want him running to the police in fear of what the police might do because he's wrongfully murdering a white man. And then the best thing is the police decided to do nothing because, well, they didn't want to be called racist. Man, I love it. Welcome to 2026 in the UK, where being a racist is worse than being a murderer.
Stabbing someone in the chest, causing a wound 8 centimeters deep. Seems like quite a deliberate thing to do and something you would remember doing, doesn't it? Digwa claims Henry pulled off his turban as part of the racist attack, and that his hair being in front of his eyes caused him to stab out in fear. Except there's video footage of Digwa pursuing Henry as he tried to flee, showing Digwa with his hair in a tight bun, but then when police had arrived, his hair was down.
Officer, to be fair, he pulled off my beanie. That's why I stabbed him 5 times. Jesus Christ.
Interesting. What do you think happened there then?
Oh, by the way, the police officers need to be put in prison. Activist judges need to be put in jail. Faulty police officers need to be put in prison. They do, and I'm sorry if that makes you upset. I don't care. If you are going to do your job so poorly that people are dying because of it, you should be stripped of all honor and you should be put in jail. If you are enacting your own agendas in court, you should be put in jail, especially when you're ignoring evidence. Fucking outrageous.
Henry pleads for help. Neighbours overhear him saying, "I've been stabbed, I'm dying." Shortly after this point, Digwa's family arrives on the scene. Video footage shows Digwa saying to Henry, "No one stabbed you, bro." They mock him. Digwa's father asserts, quote, "He's pretending," despite the video showing Henry literally prostrate, lying on the ground bleeding, with Digwa's father then literally trying to prop him up. They tell police Henry's just a drunken racist, when his blood alcohol level, according to the toxicology report, was below the drink drive limit. Henry repeatedly tries to tell the police, quote, "I've been stabbed," to which a male voice responds, "I don't think you have, mate." Who said that? Digwa? One of his family members? Or even more disturbingly, was it one of the police officers? Henry again repeatedly cries for help, telling police, quote, "I can't breathe." Yet they arrest him anyway on suspicion of assault, despite Digwa not being injured at all and Henry being mortally wounded. Believing the drunken racist story while ignoring the literal trail of blood.
Can you imagine taking a claim of racism more seriously than a claim of attempted murder and assault? This is one of the most disgusting stories I've ever heard, and it's pathetic that no one mainstream is talking about this. It absolutely sickens me to my core. I'd go further and make these judges that allow violent criminals to get out charged with treason and get the death penalty. Oh man. Just wait until you hear about the other story about a black guy who got released. Oh my God, dude. Okay, so first of all, there was a judge who let out a black person early, a repeat offender early. And you know what they did? They took a soda can, ripped it in half, and slashed a baby's neck with it. And then there was another judge who let out a violent sex offender early. And you know what they did? They went to a white woman's house who is a proud advocate of BLM, raped her, and then murdered her. By the way, all of this has happened in the past 48 hours. These are not things that I'm digging up. This is the past 48 hours, guys. Oh, we're talking about that next too.
Only remove the handcuffs after Henry is clearly unconscious. Then Henry drowns in his own blood as a result of the knife puncturing his lung. Then 2 days after the incident, police covertly record a conversation between Digwa and his brother, during which his brother tells Digwa, "You should say it was self-defense." Digwa responded by saying it was my fault or mistake. Digwa was
"Oh, I killed him, my bad." Oh, okay, well, thank God.
Carrying 2 knives, by the way, a smaller one around his neck and a larger one that he used to kill Henry. Sikhs in the UK being allowed to carry such knives, despite it being a serious criminal offence for anyone else to do so, and women not even being allowed.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we should only allow guns to go to bad people as long as they're religious. Oh yeah, I identify as a AK-47 wielding Christian. It's part of my religion, so I should be allowed to carry AK-47s. Nobody else should be allowed to, though, because they're not the same religion as me. Are we giving religions passive buffs? It's the most retarded thing I've ever heard in my life.
How to carry pepper spray because it's their religion. Doorbell footage shows Digwa's mother took the knife used to kill Henry back to the family home, removing it from the crime scene so the police couldn't discover it. Oh, that's not suspicious at all, is it? The media's trying to frame the entire narrative around this to be focused on whether or not Henry used a racial slur and whether he initiated the confrontation.
Sikh murder suspect stabbed student Henry Novak after he was called a word and had turban pull off. Guys, this is May 21st. Oh no, that was yesterday. Yesterday, we are taking it more seriously. We are taking it more seriously that a person called someone maybe a racial slur than the guy who got murdered.
As if using mean words justifies someone stabbing you to death anyway. But in concentrating on this aspect, they're deliberately sidelining the biggest outrage. The fact that police immediately believed Digwa and his family's story that Henry was a drunken racist, arrested him, put him in handcuffs, denying him the swift medical aid that could have saved his life. It was their actions as much as Digwa's that led to Henry's death.
I agree.
Digwa played the race card, and the police, thanks to years of anti-racism training and institutional anti-white bias, believed him over the actual dying victim. It was Henry who was racially profiled, immediately treated as the aggressor even as he bled to death. And why? Because white lives don't matter. But wait until you see what else renders this whole farce utterly mind-boggling. Of course, this was barely covered in the media. Less than a dozen published articles worldwide, and the left-leaning media didn't even touch it. I know this thanks to Ground News, a long-time partner of the channel. I use their app and website in my daily research. Now ask yourself, why did this receive so little attention? Why do some stories receive year-long coverage, while others like Henry Novak practically vanish?
Yep.
These kind of questions is why Ground News matters.
And no one's talking about this anywhere because it's not gaining traction, because no one can find out about this story, because the media doesn't want you to find out about this story.
You can instantly compare how the same story is being covered worldwide and across the political spectrum. More importantly, you can see the stories the media or your algorithm won't show you. We need tools like this more than ever. Subscribe now using my link ground.news/PJW for 40% off unlimited access. Whether you subscribe for yourself or gift it to a friend. That's ground.news/PJW. The link is down below. Make sure to use...
I find it insane that depending on what you identify politically will alter your versions of reality. That is so fucking scary, guys. Depending on what you think politically will alter your version of reality. That is horrifying. How about we just report events as they occurred without spinning it to your favor?
Use my link so they know I sent you. Get all sides of every story and break free from algorithms.
UK is perished? Oh, brother, UK is beyond raped. It is it's in totality a completely raped nation.
At ground.news/PJW.
A student on a night out is stabbed multiple times with a 21 centimetre long knife. He's lying in a pool of his own blood, literally drowning in his blood. The police come to the scene. Instead of doing everything that they can to save his life, they handcuff and arrest the lad because there's an accusation of racial abuse. This is a scandal. Will the Home Secretary come to the House and say what she's doing to investigate the way the police conducted this matter? And can we have a debate on two-tier policing, which is doing so much to undermine respect for the police and for the rule of law in this country?
There's video and body cam footage of all of this, by the way. Will we ever see it? Will they ever dare release it? Elon Musk's offered to fund a wrongful death lawsuit against the police. But
Elon Musk is the fucking man, bro. Good for him.
imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine if an 18-year-old Sikh man had died in handcuffs as police refused to help him after he'd been stabbed by a white man. Front page story, national outcry, massive protests. The Prime Minister would have immediately...
Yeah, they would have protested by setting cities on fire and stealing Gucci bags and lipstick.
decried
and boomboxes.
The police officers involved would be swiftly named and up on charges. It happens to Henry, and there's barely a ripple of interest, because white lives don't matter. Compare this to the absolute uproar in Ireland at the moment, where a Congolese man with a criminal history was tackled by security as he tried to steal something from a shop. An 80-year-old pensioner he barged into fell and broke their hip. Then Eve Sekila fell unconscious and died while being restrained on the ground. They're treating it like Europe's George Floyd.
Justice for Eve! Justice for Eve! Justice for Eve! Justice for Eve!
Huge protests, candlelit vigils, demands for instant justice. And the Irish Prime Minister demanding an investigation. The Irish Network Against Racism expressed concern that excessive force may have been used against Sekila and said in a statement that the death of a black man in such circumstances is extremely worrying. But apparently not in the case of a white man, Henry Novak, whose death is relegated to an almost irrelevant local news story because white lives don't matter. Compare Henry Novak to what happened to Stephen Lawrence. The same age as Henry, Lawrence's murder, which the prosecution argued was racially motivated, led to conclusions that the Met Police was institutionally racist, led directly to massive changes in the law and policing in general, and was described as one of the most important moments in the modern history of criminal justice in Britain. People still talk about it more than 3 decades later. It's still in the news from time to time, while Henry's killing will remain just a footnote, with zero justice system ramifications ramifications whatsoever. If his alleged murderer even ends up being convicted at all, there'll be no inquiry into whether the police's obsession with anti-racism actually facilitated his death. The officers involved likely won't face any recriminations or discipline at all, because white lives don't matter. The Prime Minister and the Met Police are busy denouncing what happened in San Diego.
You know, I've been advocating for white lives matter for 3 years, and I've been called, minimum, by the way, minimum. And I was cut off by every OnlyFans prostitute that I know being deemed a white supremacist. Because I say white lives matter, because I say you can't just kill white people, I'm labeled a white supremacist racist. It's insane how much shit you get as a white man for simply supporting other white people. It's psychotic.
In a different country thousands of miles away, Hampshire police, the force involved in Henry's death, made sure to let everyone know that they stand with those appalled at the death of George Floyd. No such sympathy when it comes to Henry, no comment on their own officers' misconduct, literally nothing. The UK was transfixed for months with protests and riots over the police-involved death of George Floyd. Hundreds of thousands of people hit the streets over something that happened thousands of miles away in a different country.
And I want to remind you, George Floyd didn't even get killed by a police officer. If you look at his autopsy, go to page 2. He has no injuries on the neck. He has no injuries to the chest or sternum anywhere. He died of a fentanyl overdose. That is literally in the autopsy. He was quite literally in the act of getting caught of committing a crime. He was robbing a pregnant woman. He was a repeat offender. He was a piece of shit. And they freaked the fuck out over it because of some badly clipped news coverage. He was saying, "I can't breathe," while no one was touching him in the back of a police car. Listen, guys, there's many reasons for black people to say Black Lives Matter, right? There's many reasons. George Floyd was not one of them. George Floyd was a joke.
Black Lives Matter culture.
Why did the cop go to jail then? It's called a political arrest. They're doing that because if they didn't, the cities would be an outrage. The way the cops were taught to detain people is exactly by the books what they did to George Floyd. He's there because if they were to release him, there would be nationwide outrage. And I absolutely believe that.
The Cultural Revolution was embraced and adopted wholesale by virtually every major institution in Britain, including, crucially, the police, who, when faced with a white man literally bleeding to death after being stabbed, didn't arrest the alleged perpetrator and render immediate medical aid to Henry Novak. They arrested Henry and then watched him die, because apparently being seen as anti-racist is more important than saving the life of an actual victim. George Floyd dies in police custody while pleading, "I can't breathe." It provokes a global backlash. Henry Novak dies in police custody while pleading, "I can't breathe." It provokes barely any reaction whatsoever, because white lives don't matter.
Is that not ridiculous? Henry Nowak is exactly what people pretend George Floyd is, and absolutely nobody gives a fuck. And I'm being real, guys. It's 1000% just because he's white. We all know it, but people are too uncomfortable to say it.